Ever since late 2022, generative AI has completely turned the world of higher education on its head. The traditional university degree, and how we even measure what someone has learned, well, it's facing a massive challenge. So today, we're going to break down how universities are scrambling to adapt and what it all means for the future of your education. All right, let's get into it.
So let's just start with the question that is keeping pretty much every educator up at night. Can a student really use a tool like ChatGPT to whip up a top-tier essay, a piece of complex code, or a detailed report in just a few seconds?
The answer, not surprisingly, is a big resounding yes. And that reality has kicked off a full-blown crisis in something called assurance of learning. I mean, think about it. If a university can't confidently say that a student actually mastered the skills themselves, then what is that degree they give you really worth?
This brings us right to the core of the problem. Right now, universities are in a mad dash to prove that their degrees are still valid, that they can still stand behind their graduates and guarantee they actually have the knowledge that their fancy diploma says they have. So, what even is assurance of learning? It sounds like a bunch of academic jargon, but it's actually incredibly important. It's the formal, official process universities have to follow to keep their accreditation. It's basically their promise to you, to employers, to everybody, that their graduates actually know their stuff.
Now, I know what you're probably thinking. Hey, why not just use AI detection software? Easy, right? Well, the experts are pretty clear on this. Trying to detect AI-generated work with any kind of real accuracy is, and I'm quoting the source material here, all but impossible. The tech is just too good. The whole cat and mouse game is pretty much over. The old ways of doing things are, simply put, broken.
Okay, so if detection isn't an option, what's next? Well, after the initial, let's call it a panic, institutions are now starting to come up with actual structured plans. And the research we're looking at today lays out three main strategic paths that universities are taking to reform how they assess students in this new age of AI.
A really easy way to think about these is like you're remodeling a house. Option 1 is the total renovation. You're literally gutting the whole thing and redesigning the entire degree program from the ground up. Option 2 is the security upgrade. This is like putting a high-tech alarm system and deadbolts on the door of every single course. Or you could go with option 3, the strategic remodel, a kind of hybrid where you gut some key rooms but just upgrade the security on others.
Now, each one of these paths comes with some pretty powerful advantages and some really significant downsides. So let's put them side by side and see how they really stack up.
So when you look at them all together, you can really see the tough choice universities are facing, right? The total renovation is this beautiful, holistic idea, but it's incredibly difficult and expensive to pull off. The security upgrade is direct, it's fast, but it can make learning feel really choppy and disconnected. And then there's the strategic remodel, which offers a lot of flexibility, but you run a serious risk of creating a confusing mess for students.
Let's dig into that total renovation first. Its biggest strength, by far, is that it treats your education like a single, connected journey. You build skills progressively year after year. This approach lines up perfectly with what professional groups want. But, and it's a huge but, it's a massive undertaking. It requires a complete culture change for academics, and you can bet it's going to face resistance from professors who are used to having total control over their own little corner of the world.
Then you've got the security upgrade. This is the quick and dirty, rapid response option. You just make a new rule. Every single course has to have at least one secure task, something like a supervised presentation or an in-class test. It's fast to implement, and it lets professors keep their autonomy. So what's the downside? Well, it can be an administrative nightmare, and it might lead to students just learning in these little silos, never quite connecting the dots to see the bigger picture.
And finally, there's the strategic remodel. This hybrid approach is really pragmatic. It lets universities focus all their energy on reforming the most critical parts of a degree. It's a fantastic solution for those really large, complex programs. The catch? It needs incredibly careful management. If it's not handled perfectly, students can end up getting whiplash from bouncing between totally different assessment styles and philosophies.
But here's the thing. It doesn't actually matter which path an institution chooses. There are some universal roadblocks that everyone is going to have to deal with. These are the deep, really thorny challenges that make this whole thing so difficult.
The biggest temptation in all of this is for universities to just retreat to what feels safe. Old school, timed, supervised exams in a giant hall. They feel secure. They feel easy to manage. But going back to that would be a huge step backward, and it would probably undo years of progress in making learning more authentic and fair for all students.
And that leads to the first really critical question that these institutions have to keep asking themselves. How do you make sure students are doing their own work while also using assessments that are meaningful, that reflect the real world, and that are fair to everyone? That's the tightrope they all have to walk.
But you know what? This is about so much more than just stopping cheating. We have to ask an even bigger question. What exactly are we preparing students for? I mean, the whole point of a university is to get graduates ready for a professional world where using AI is going to be a normal, everyday skill. Just banning it from education altogether, well, that's not a real strategy. So, let's wrap this all up. What does all of this actually mean for students? For the value of the qualification you're working so hard to get? Let's bring it all together.
Even with all this technological chaos, this quote from Australia's higher education regulator is a great reminder of the mission that never changes. At the end of the day, assessment has two jobs. It has to support meaningful learning, and it has to provide proof that that learning happened. Any reform has to do both.
So for you, as a student, this means your university experience is changing, for sure. You can probably expect your assessments to start feeling more like a connected story that builds across your entire degree. You should also expect more supervised or in-person tasks to verify that you can do the work yourself. The whole goal here is to make what you do in your assignments look a lot more like what you'll be doing in your future career. And make no mistake, the long-term value of your degree absolutely depends on universities getting this right.
And that leaves us with the final and most important question. This isn't just about redesigning exams or coming up with new essay topics. This is about fundamentally rethinking what we want education to even be. In a world where AI can answer almost any question, what kind of assessment is actually going to teach us how to think, how to create, and how to thrive? That's the challenge, but it's also the incredible opportunity that's right in front of us.